navy blue of Victoria.
Uses his feet and goes again through mid-wicket. That's an even better shot from the Victorian captain.
Swept away very nicely by Nicole Bolton for four.
Oh, he's been given! That is 50. The man from Northcote.
Well, welcome to another edition of the Vic State Cricket podcast. Today we're joined by an Australian cricketer, an Irish cricketer, a Melbourne Star, a Victorian player. I'm not really sure how to describe or introduce Kim Garth. So I'll just say, g'day Kim, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
What do you describe yourself now as?
Great question. Victorian cricketer, I guess, is probably still the Australian part of it hasn't quite kicked in yet. But so yeah, Victorian cricketer, I reckon.
Well, I should start by saying congratulations because you've just been named in the Australian squad for upcoming games against India. Is it starting to feel normal now, Kim Garth, the Australian player?
Still not really, to be honest. It's kind of this tour probably marks about a year since I've been in the squad and managed to keep my place in the squad. So, but still, yeah, it still feels quite surreal. And anytime I talk about like the Australian team, I kind of refer to them as them or not instead of us or we. It's still a bit weird. Obviously, yeah, over the last few years, having followed them quite closely or followed us quite closely, there you go. And yeah, just being part of it all now is super cool.
Is it still a pinch me moment when you run out with them and even train with them? When you think of all the big names in that Australian team, it's an iconic team, and I think we'll be looking back in 50, 60 years' time of just how strong it is, how many big names they are. It's remarkable. You're now part of that.
Yeah, absolutely, it definitely is. I get so nervous. Like I'm a pretty nervous cricketer as it is, but like, yeah, when I run out and play, like I literally feel sick a lot of the time until I bowl my first over, and then I'm like, oh, okay, breathe. But yeah, like you said, it's been like an incredible team, and we've been so strong for so many years now. So to even kind of be part of that for, you know, a small piece of that kind of long journey that they've been on, particularly over the last, I guess, 10 or so years. They've been probably last 5 years in particular, they've been so strong and just won pretty much everything there is to win. So yeah, it's just to be part of that and yeah, to as you said, to run out there every time is pretty special.
I want to talk more about that a little bit later on, but just one on playing for Australia. Do you feel that your game's gone to another level since you've been in that environment, training, preparation, playing, just having better people around you? Yeah,
I think so. I'm certainly never sure of my place in the squad, so I'm always looking over my shoulder a little bit. And I guess with that comes just the responsibility to try and evolve and be the best you can possibly be. So yeah, I guess just being part of that squad and training with the best in the world quite regularly, that in itself helps you become a better cricketer. But yeah, just having those experienced people around you and all the, like, you know, there's so many amazing players in that. Having those guys around you day in, day out is pretty cool. So just even having conversations with them about cricket and just being a part of the whole thing, it's hard not to kind of improve and yeah, just keep taking your game to the next level.
So you're 27. Do you see yourself as an experienced cricketer because you've been playing international cricket for pretty much half your life?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess I do in a way. Yeah, I feel like I'm quite in terms of like skill specific with my bowling. I feel like I'm always quite sure in myself of what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to execute on the day and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, overall I feel like I'm reasonably experienced. But then obviously when you look at the likes of Elise Perry, obviously Meg Lanning just retired, but Elisa Healy then compared to those guys obviously not very experienced. But because the team and the bulk of the squad are so young, yeah, I guess kind of middle road. Particularly when I come back to Victoria and the Stars, I definitely feel like I'm one of the more experienced players. But in that side, probably, yeah, middle of the park, kind of middle of the table.
So you made your international debut as a 14-year-old for Ireland, which is, I think, it's around about the third youngest of all time. It's a badge of honour, I'm sure, to wear. Do you see it that way still, or is that so far or so long ago now that you don't think of it so much? 14.
Yeah, I guess when people say to me, it is. Yeah, I am kind of like, wow, that was very young. When I think of some of the girls coming through the program now, like Mill and Reese McKenna and those kind of guys who are kind of 18, 19, and I think they're so young to take another 4 years off that. It is quite young, but yeah, it was also a lifetime ago, so I can't even remember what it was like. I think I was a specialist fielder for a few years, so not sure I could even call myself like an international cricketer back then. But yeah, when it's put like that, it's pretty crazy.
How did it come about? So if we're sort of going back to growing up in Dublin and growing up in Ireland, you're playing for your country at 14. That just doesn't it doesn't quite compute that it can actually happen.
Yeah, it's a weird one, I guess. I grew up playing cricket with the boys, and then I remember I was playing just in my local cricket club, playing in the nets one day, watching. I think my brother must have been playing or something, and I was just I'd been in the nets for most of the day, just batting, bowling, doing whatever. And I remember like the youth kind of the guy who was head of youth representative cricket at the time came up to me and just kind of said, yeah, we'll get you into nets or something. And I was like, oh, how cool is that? Like, I was so excited. And then, I guess that winter I was kind of in some of the underage programs. It would have been like under 13s, like Leinster under 13s, which is probably the equivalent of Victoria here. So, and then, I suppose it kind of just went for there, went to a few underage carnivals. And then, I remember, I actually can't remember how it was the news. I think my parents must have told me that, I got an email that, I'm off to England. It was to play against England and New Zealand. For Ireland, so it was obviously crazy, but it was certainly nothing like, I guess, the pathways that you go through over here to play international cricket. A few more steps over here than there is back home.
So growing up playing cricket and coming from a cricket family, how does that happen? Because Ireland, there is cricket, but it's not the number one sport.
Yeah, so mum and dad both played cricket. So dad's actually from South Africa and grew up there, so played in school, and obviously once he moved to Ireland, obviously continued to play cricket. And then mum, she just grew up down the road from a cricket club and kind of got into it through that, I think. And they obviously met then through cricket, and so and then I have two brothers, so my older brother played cricket as well. So it really is, it's a lot of the time most people in Ireland get into cricket through family. Like it's not really something that you kind of see on TV and you think, oh, I'll play that and I'll go down to my local club. It's like if your family plays, or more so nowadays, I suppose, if it's in the schools and stuff a bit more, which is cool. So some of the kids, they're like their friends play, and then they come down to the local club or whatever. But for me, it was just mum and dad, and then following my older brother down to the cricket club, and just kind of went from there.
So growing up with your friends, when you're saying you're going playing cricket, and are they saying, what's cricket? Or are they saying, why would you do that for? Come with us, do what we're doing?
Yeah.
Or I'd love to know what it was like growing up as a teenager playing cricket in Ireland. Yeah,
there's a lot of what's cricket, like no sort of idea or concept of kind of what's involved or anything like that. To be fair, I think some of them still don't have a clue as to kind of I suppose the nature of the journey that I've been on. They're just like, oh, she's in Australia playing cricket, she's happy, kind of thing. But I missed out on a fair bit socially, I guess, through school years, because I always had cricket or something like that. And it was always just kind of, oh, Kim's off playing cricket and she's happy, so we'll leave her be. But as you said, like cricket, people they just don't get it at all back in Ireland. I think it is growing now, which is really cool, but still, it wouldn't be in the top 3 or top 5 popular sports or anything like that.
So was it hard, like, to keep at it, even though you're in a cricket family and you're seeing all your friends doing different things and you're playing this strange sport to so many of your friends, that whole peer pressure thing and all that sort of stuff? Were there moments where you go, it's too hard, or because you were so good at it, it was easy to stick at it?
Yeah, I've always loved cricket, obviously, and because I was in that Ireland side from such a young age and travelling, it was always pretty cool. And like, how good is this? Like, I travelled to South Africa when I was 14, I think, and then we had Bangladesh, and it was taking me to all parts of the world. So there was never really a time until later on in my school years where I didn't really, like, I was always mad on the cricket. And then I think I was in my final year in school, and I played Gaelic football, which is our equivalent of footy, obviously.
Yep.
And I got picked for like the under-18 representative Gaelic team, so Dublin. And then I remember Trent Johnson was our coach at the time, and he said, you can't play both. But I'd done this massive preseason with Dublin, and we'd worked so hard at it, and then we're a couple of think it was a couple of weeks out from round 1, and he's like, well, no, you're actually going to have to choose. And I was like, oh God, like this is so hard. And I just felt like I'd put so much work into it, and I was really enjoying it. And so I actually opted to play Gaelic and let the cricket go for kind of, it ended up only being probably 4 or 5 months, but I actually missed the World Cup through that. Missed the 2014 World Cup, I think it was in Bangladesh, because I ended up playing Gaelic, and it was my final year of school as well. So it was kind of around exam season, and very different back home. You don't really get exemptions for exams for sport or anything. It's like you have to do your exams. So yeah, I ended up actually missing the cricket for Gaelic and finishing my exams in school and that kind of stuff. But once the exams finished, I was pretty much straight back into cricket, but that was the only real time where it was like I kind of wasn't too keen on it for a little bit, but I haven't really looked back since.
I think you might have made the right decision. How do you, like, I used to hate going to school camps, and I'd be away for 5 days because I didn't want to be away from my family and my friends and all that sort of thing. Although I guess I had friends on the camp. But for you travelling the world at 14, playing in World Cups, missing school, missing friends' birthdays, missing going out with friends, all that sort of thing. How did you manage to do it all?
Yeah, it's a good question. To be fair, like, it's not, so we didn't, like, we would have maybe 2 tours a year for Ireland back then, so it's nothing like kind of the schedule we've got nowadays. So yeah, and then like it's only become a professional sport there in recent times. So I still did do a lot in school, and I just kind of fit my trainings in. Like, we'd have to go to the gym in the morning, and then we'd have training in the evening, and then you'd kind of have school and uni in between that. So it was all kind of like, you could still do a lot of things normally. So that made it a lot easier. And then when it came to tours, like I said, there was probably 2, max 3 tours a year. So again, that made things a little bit easier. Obviously, yeah, you're pretty tired come the end of the day, but I still felt like I didn't miss much school at all, and I did get to socialize and stuff with my friends a good bit. So that made it a bit easier.
Just busy.
Yeah, just very busy. That's it.
Yeah. So growing up, I'd love to know who were your heroes and who did you try and model your game on? Because it's much easier for someone. I grew up in Melbourne, grew up in Victoria. Dean Jones, was my hero. You wanted to bat like Dean Jones. But for you, as you're sort of making your way, who are your heroes?
Yeah, well, we obviously, as I said before, Dad's South African, so we had a lot of, we loved South Africa and watching them. I loved A.B. de Villiers. He was a big one. I just, was obsessed by him, and just, like, obviously he's very skillful. Everyone knows what he can do. So he was a big one in our house, and Jack Callis as well. So we had a bit of South African bias in there. Dale Steyn, obviously, with his bowling. So that kind of era of South Africans, we loved. But to be honest, we just had cricket on in the house all the time. We didn't, any sort of cricket that was on, we'd watch.
So you've played for Ireland for over 80 times. Do you actually know how many games you've played for Ireland? Because there is some conjecture over what the actual number is.
Yeah, I think because we played like a lot of games against Holland and Scotland, who didn't have ODI status, but then Ireland count them as caps. So I think I played about 115 times for Ireland, something like that. So yeah, it's crazy.
Good number. It's a good number. And then you decide, I think I've got to go somewhere else to further my cricket, to make a life out of it, really. Take us through that whole process, how it started, how do you started thinking about it, who contacted you to make this a possibility? Yeah,
so it all started when the ICC introduced this program whereby associate nations could send a player or put forward a player to train with the Big Bash team. I think that was started in WBBL 1. So I got put forward for that. Went to the Hurricanes in the first year. Didn't play, just trained. And then got put forward again for the second year, where I was with Sydney Sixers. And there was a rule whereby if one of the local players went down injured, I could come in and play. So I literally got off the plane and they said, I can't remember who it was, she's injured, but so yeah, you're going to play. And I literally, obviously thought I was just going for 2 weeks training, like a bit of a holiday. And yeah, next minute I'm playing a couple of days later, and obviously, the Big Bash, which was like so new and so exciting at the time. So yeah, I played four games, I think, and then I think yeah, anyway, that kind of happened. It just worked out well. Misfortunate for some, but lucky for me that a couple of people kept getting injured, so then I ended up playing finals. And yeah, we won. So we won that year, WBBL 2. Came back again the next year, WBBL 3. Again, someone was injured. I think it was Pez did her hamstring. Played the whole year. Finals again, won again. So after that, I was like, wow, like how cool is this? This is the life I lived in, like Coogee in Sydney, like right by the beach. I had like driving around my own car. I'm like, this is so cool. So yeah, it was then that I was really like, this, like I would love to do this. But I always knew I wanted to go to uni back home. So finished school, finished uni, and then thought, okay, I'll come out and play grade cricket. So I think Sarah Elliott was in touch with someone from back home and kind of put out a few feelers, and I thought, yeah, I really wanted to go to Sydney, but I'd been in touch with Dandenong Cricket Club, and they were pretty keen to get me out and made it very easy for me. So came out and played grade cricket for them. And then, yeah, so I had a couple of years of grade cricket with Dandy, and again, just loved it and thought, you know, I just this is definitely what I want to do. I want to play cricket full time, and love the lifestyle as well out here. And so I had a meeting then with Sean Graff and Cricket Victoria about, you know, possibility of, you know, gaining a contract. And they were pretty interested, pretty interested early on. And then found out I had a contract the same day that the borders closed for COVID. So that was crazy. So I kind of had to make a pretty quick decision about, like, well, if I go home now, you know, I might not get back in the country. So stayed here and played for Victoria, obviously, since then. And it kind of just went from there. It actually worked out really well because in terms of my eligibility to play for Australia, you had to spend 10 months of the year in Australia. So I guess COVID kind of helped me in that regard, and that I couldn't go anywhere. So I became eligible a bit quicker than I might have done otherwise.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for a period, it was like it is for a lot of Australians going over to the UK, 6 months on, 6 months off. That's how it started.
Yeah.
So you got to sample Victoria's life, I guess, Melbourne life, before making that decision that, this could be a thing. How was it? Was it an agonising decision, or was it an easy decision, do you think, when you look back on it?
It was a tough decision, obviously. Like it's a big move to move to the other side of the world, and with that decision, I had to say that I want to play for Australia, and had to give up playing for Ireland. So that obviously wasn't easy. Leaving family behind, leaving friends behind, was very comfortable at home and was real home person growing up. Thought I'd never move away from home, but yeah, once I thought about it, I guess, and having been over here, and I think at the time I made the decision, I was 23, and I knew it would take me the guts of 3 years to kind of qualify. So I just thought, you know what, it's now or never, and I think I might regret it if I don't try. And at the end of the day, if worse comes to worse, I thought I could have jumped on a plane and come back home. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And if it doesn't work out, then I've tried and I'll have no regrets. So, I mean, it was obviously very difficult initially, but once I started training with Victoria and that kind of stuff, I felt right at home, and I was like, you know, this is me. This is what I want to do. So, look, it wasn't an easy decision, but I'm very happy that I made it.
So as you said, it's almost like a university degree that takes 3 years. That was the whole process for you. You're not thinking about it necessarily for the next 6 months. You're thinking about it as potentially 3 years, and then if that's successful, it then becomes a life. Potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, as I said and you said there, it was a 3-year thing that. Look, for me, it was good that in that Victoria, I think they gave me a two-year contract, maybe, or it might have even been 3 years, so that I had that security there. But I wanted to, obviously, play in the Big Bash as a local. That was the thing that made me really fall in love with cricket over here and the lifestyle and that kind of stuff. So I really want to play as a local. And in 2019, I'd actually got picked up for the Perth Scorchers as an overseas. So again, the few months there, I was like, how good is this? And I was like, I just want to come back so bad, but obviously it's tricky to pick up as a gig as an international.
Yeah.
So the thing for me is I want to play in the Big Bash, and I knew that once I got permanent residency, which would be after 3 years, that I could become a local. So looking back on it, it did go very quickly, and we were so lucky in COVID that we got exemptions to train. I think if we didn't get exemptions, I would have been home. There's no way I could have. You know, COVID was hard enough for everyone as it is, but to go through that without your family yeah, just was very lucky that we could cricket train every day, and yeah, very thankful for that.
Yeah, I mean, because where we were lucky here is as cricketers, is that in summer you could still play your sport, whereas winter was pretty much shut down unless it was absolutely professional level. Who knows what would have happened if, for local cricket, for even Premier cricket, whether we would have been able to play if it wasn't for us being a summer sport.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like a lifetime ago now, the whole COVID thing, doesn't it? But yeah, I think cricket. Yeah, we were very lucky with cricket in that it didn't actually disrupt us too much. Like there's obviously a couple of disruptions, and Premier cricket started late and all that kind of thing. But overall, we were very lucky that yeah, we didn't get disrupted too much.
How's your mum and dad go now? Have they been able to travel out a lot to Australia since COVID sort of passed, or is it something that they can't get over here too often? How does it all work?
Yeah. So once the borders opened, I went straight home. Spent a while there. I think I spent 6 weeks at home, which was awesome. And that's kind of probably the plan is every off season. It's obviously a little bit different now, a bit busier now, but yeah, for the off season, I'll usually try and get home for some sort of period of time. And mum and dad are actually out at the moment, so they've travelled out. Dad just retired from work, and mum's been retired for a while, so they're out at the moment, which is really cool.
You might have them here too much.
yeah. So that's awesome. So they'll probably try and get out once the summer as well, hopefully, now that they've got a bit more time. And since I've been in the Australian squad as well, they've kind of followed me around a little bit. They went to India for my first tour, and then South Africa for the World Cup. And then obviously the Ashes, it was a home game for them. And then, yeah, they're out here again. So it's worked out really well.
The last 12 months, it has been extraordinary for you, since making your debut for Australia right through to what you did against the West Indies only recently. Does that feel real because it's happened so quickly? Or as you've just explained, this has been a process that's been going on for well over a decade.
Yeah, I don't actually know how to describe it. It's gone super quick. I can't believe it's a year since I've been in the squad. Yeah, it probably still doesn't quite feel real, particularly recently, I guess. Getting a bit more game time has been awesome. And yeah, it's been like a really, really cool journey. Even just to be picked for that India tour, like as soon as I was eligible, I was in the squad. That in itself was super cool. And then spent a bit of time carrying drinks, and then got to go to the Ashes. That was really cool. That's probably been the highlight, heading to the Ashes and playing in that test match, which was an awesome test match. To play in that was really cool. And then to go home and play against Ireland, that was weird, but obviously really cool as well. And then, yeah, just to keep my place in the squad more than anything is been really pleasing for me and get some game time. So to answer your question, no, it probably doesn't feel real, even though it has been quite a long journey. I'm still pinching myself that I'm still part of the squad, and yeah, I've had some opportunities to play recently, which has been cool.
So a few questions from the last 12 months. Going back and playing against Ireland, when your friends and family turned up, who were they barracking for? and how weird was that?
It was very weird. Yeah, look, I think mum and dad were obviously rooting for Australia. Obviously, you always want Irish cricket to do well, and anytime the girls are playing, or the men, the women or the men, they're always cheering for Ireland. But yeah, obviously on this occasion they were going for Australia, which was cool, and yeah, it was very weird. I was very nervous. I think the first game actually got washed out, which was the last thing I needed. I just wanted to get out there. Megan Shute had gone home, so she didn't come to Ireland, so I knew there was probably going to be some game time in there. Which was awesome. But yeah, so come the first day, and I opened the curtains and it was lashing rain. I'm like, oh no, this is not what I need. But even to get out there and to be able to kind of chat to a few people waiting for the rain to pass, that was really cool, because yeah, everyone was incredibly supportive of my journey and my decision. And then yeah, once I did get to play, and they called out my name when I was opening the bowling, I got a loud cheer, which was really cool. I was like, oh, okay, relief. And then I think potentially bowled a maiden first over, so I was like, okay, this is it's fine. I just needed to get into it and settle the nerves a little bit. But that was actually a really special week, or 10 days I think it was. Had some of the girls over to our house for dinner, which was really cool. And yeah, just to get back home, and I had so many people come up to me just saying, how amazing the journey's been and how well I'm doing. So that was really, really cool. Like, yeah, it's something I'll always look back on. Which as like a pretty special tour. It was really cool.
And then the Ashes, to be able to play in the Ashes. I'd love to know when the national anthems are being played and you're standing out there and you're thinking about representing Australia in a test match. Can you remember what was going through your mind at that point?
Yeah, it was not really, to be honest. Just like, how crazy is this? Like Trent Bridge, Ashes Test match. I was always kind of over the last few years, as there's been more talk of kind of red ball cricket and women's domestic. I've always kind of been like, oh, I'm not sure I'd really like that. But then I think since I got called up to Australia, I'm like, oh my God, I want to play in a test match. I think as well for me, being a bowler and kind of the type of bowler I am, it probably suits my game out of all three formats the most. So that obviously helps. But yeah, being out there and getting my baggy green off Mel Jones, that was really cool. And then just getting out there, and we were batting first, so it was a long first day, but the whole 5 days was incredible. Takes it out of you big time, like physically and emotionally. Like even the nerves I had waiting to bat, I had my pads on for so long, and I was like, oh my God, I just want to get out there. I'm gonna get sick, and then to get out there and bowl, and just it ebbed and flowed a lot, the test match, which was like so cool. But yeah, the whole few days was pretty special, and then to come out on day 5 and win it in the end was awesome.
Because I was going to ask you, what when you were growing up as a little girl wanting to play cricket, who were you talking about being A.B. de Villiers or being Jacques Kallis, but who were you representing? Were you representing Ireland? Were you representing, in your dreams even, representing Australia, representing England, playing Test cricket, white ball cricket? What were the dreams and aspirations?
Yeah, I think it was always Ireland. I never, ever, even when I made the decision to come over and to give cricket over here a crack. Like I knew Cricket Australia said, well, you're going to have to kind of pledge your allegiances to us, but I never ever thought I was going to play for Australia. So yeah, it was always Ireland. Growing up, I definitely never thought I'd be playing red ball cricket or for any other country but Ireland. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So I'm interested, and this might be a bit of a sensitive question, but to go and play for Australia, was there any feeling of, I hope the girls are going to accept me being Irish, playing for Australia, all that sort of thing, of feeling like a sense of belonging in the Australian setup? I'm really interested to know if you're prepared to share those feelings of insecurities or concerns.
Yeah, definitely a little bit insecure. To be fair, I've played with a lot of the girls over the years, and there's obviously a lot of Victorians in the Australian side, so that was cool. I knew a lot of the girls from playing against them, played with some of them for the Sixers, played with a lot of them for Victoria. So I did know there wasn't many that I didn't really know at all. So that definitely helped. I was probably more insecure around the decision to come and play in the first place, to kind of move my life over. It was more like, God, are they all going to think I'm silly and that I'll never make it into anything or something like that. I was pretty insecure around that decision to like, it was obviously a very brave decision to leave home and say, openly come out and have to say, yep, I want to play for Australia. Even though in the back of my head I'm thinking, I'm never going to play for Australia, but I have to say this to get my contracts and that kind of stuff. So I was pretty, I was very nervous about what people would have thought around that decision. But once I actually got the call to come in the squad, as I said, having played with a lot of the girls, it wasn't too bad. Still obviously had my insecurities that, am I good enough for this and that kind of stuff. And I'm obviously Irish and so a bit of both to answer your question, probably yes and no. But I was very thankful that I knew quite a lot of the girls, which was really cool.
Talk to us about the influence of Elise Perry on you, especially from all the way back to the Sixers, threading through Victoria and now for Australia. We talk about feeling accepted, feeling like you belong, the role that she's played in all of that.
Yeah, she's been awesome, particularly over the last year, actually. Since I've come in the squad, I'd consider her one of my closest mates, so it's really cool having her to lean on. I always have to make sure she's in mid-on, mid-off as well when I'm blowing up, because she's just such a calming influence on me and everyone really who she plays cricket with. She's just awesome to have in the team. But as you said, played with her in the Sixers. I actually lived with her in her house for 10 days, I think it was, when I played for the Sixers at the start of the season, and that in itself I was a little bit scared. I'm like, oh my God, like I was coming over from Ireland and I was staying in Elise Perry's house. Like, how cool is this? But she has, she's been awesome. As I said, really good friend and someone who will always chat to you about your cricket. Like she's always there for you, which is is really cool. So to be able to play with her for the Sixers, and then to have her in Victoria now is super cool. We just need to get her to the Melbourne Stars, but yeah, she's awesome, and yeah, she's definitely helped a lot with my cricketing, and also fitting into trying to fit into that Australian side. You know, outside of the cricket stuff, she's been awesome.
Okay, so we've talked about Elise Perry's influence. I'm really interested in the influence of Clint Mackay, who played cricket for Australia, big here in Victoria, linked with the Melbourne Stars obviously as well. How much has he helped you just as a pure bowler?
Yeah, Squiddy's been awesome.
What did you just call him?
Squiddy. Squid. He's he's been great. I think, was he 2 years ago? Yeah, so this is my third year at the Stars. So not this year, but the last 2 years, he's been bowling coach at the Stars, and then he's been bowling coach at Victoria, I think, for 2 years before that. So he's been really, really good. Yeah, look, he was very helpful throughout those years at both Stars and Victoria, and yeah, I think the way he bowled and the way that I bowl, I guess he had a lot of tricks and that kind of stuff, and wasn't overly sharp. Sorry, Squiddy. No, he was obviously a wonderful bowler, but relied on his skills a lot, which I think is similar enough to the way I bowl. So yeah, he's been awesome in terms of helping me out with my bowling, and yeah, look, if I'm really struggling, or yeah, just getting frustrated or anything like that, I still text him every now and again and say, can you have a look at this? And yeah, he's been very helpful, and also knows my personality as well, which I think is really cool. It's a big part of it nowadays, in terms of not just me, but everyone getting to know the person, to see kind of how they tick and that kind of stuff. So yeah, Squid's been awesome. He came out to our game the other day at Ringwood, and I was about to have another blow up, and he talked me out of it, which was great. So yeah, like, Squiddy's been awesome, and yeah, it's really cool to be able to work with him.
I want to just on that. I guess you've been here a long time now, relatively speaking, but having someone that actually knows you as a person, because there's knowing you as a cricketer and there's knowing you as a person. I think it's important to have both sides, to know how you tick. So if you're going to blow up, that's actually okay, as opposed to that's going to be detrimental to your game. Just having someone to talk to when your parents aren't just around the corner, or your local coach that knows you inside out. Is that someone that Clint is, or is that someone that you're still searching for? Or because I reckon that must be important, particularly for a professional athlete.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I think yeah, Clint was definitely that person with the Stars in Victoria when he was involved. Obviously, unfortunately, he's not involved anymore. But I think, yeah, look, I think anyone who's kind of stepped into that coaching role is you spend enough time with them nowadays that they do get to know you, and particularly for me, I get quite emotional and hot-headed. And lose my temper sometimes on the field, and I think yeah, it's been you spend enough time, as I said, nowadays that people do get to know you, and it is very important for everyone. I think cricket's such a unique game, and you really do have to get to know how people tick, and you've obviously got so many different personalities in a cricket team, so getting to know the person on top of the cricketer is definitely very important.
What about here in Victoria? Who have been the people that have made it easy for you, that perhaps without their support or guidance you might not be in this position? Is there a couple that sort of stand out?
From the team?
Well, either from the team or even from a management perspective, or someone that's really helped you settle in and make it easy.
There's been a lot of people, actually. I feel it's a really close group, which is really cool. Nicole Fulton, I live with Nico, so she's been awesome, particularly over the last few years. I get on really well with her and be one of my closest mates, and Tess Flintov as well. The two of them are like best mates, so Tess pretty much lives with us. But yeah, they're obviously two of my closer friends. But to be honest, we all get on so well. Pez, as I spoke about before, Pez is awesome, and all the girls in the Australian side as well, having spent a lot of time with them. They've been great. But also, like, I guess just like, to start off my journey at Dandenong Cricket Club, a lot of people out there helped me feel like if ever I needed anything, it was always really nice to know that I had people from out there. And had Kelly Appleby as well, so I played with her for Dandenong, and she lives around the corner from me, so myself and Nicole go visit them quite regularly, which is really cool. She's like kind of like my mum away from home. She's awesome, or like she'd hate me saying that, like a big sister, I guess. But yeah, just there's so many people that help me out over here, or if I feel like I need, or if I ever have a problem or anything like that, I'm not kind of looking over my shoulder thinking, who am I going to talk to? It's not like that at all, which is really cool. As I said, I'm close to a lot of the girls, and yeah, I have a lot of people looking out for me, which is really cool.
Can you believe how professional the sport has come since you first started coming out as let's say, a rookie for the Sixers to where it is now? Does it sort of, do you have to, again, is that pinch me moment, or has it happened at a level where you think, no, this is what it should be, and this has been building for a while?
Yeah, I think it has definitely been building for a while. Particularly, I guess, coming from Ireland and coming over, whatever it was, 6 or 7 years ago, 8 years ago, seeing even like how professional it was back then compared to I guess what it was like in Ireland. But I think in general, women's sport over here is I'd say it's quite advanced in terms of its professionalization compared to a lot of other parts of the world, which is really cool. So I'm not overly surprised that cricket is where it's at, and it's super exciting that I feel like it's only going to continue to grow, and hopefully that'll be the same not only with cricket but with all women's sport. And I think it's definitely trending in the right direction, which is really cool.
And it feels like cricket particularly understands the importance around role modelling, around making sure that you're leaving the game in a better place than where you started it. I think now, girls growing up here in Australia, they're not wanting to be the next Steve Smith or David Warner. They're actually wanting to be the next Meg Lanning or the next Elise Perry or the next Kim Garth. But it feels you're very clear on what your role is, not just playing cricket.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something we talk about as well as a team, is kind of leaving a bit of a legacy for young girls, and just really hopefully influencing young girls and boys to pick up a bat and choose cricket. And that is spoken about a lot in the Australian side, which is really cool. And I think the girls are doing a wonderful job at it. I mean, it's like you look at the likes of Pez and Meg, who's just retired, and Elisa Healy, and there's just so many role models now, and like not only fantastic cricketers but wonderful people off field as well, and have like a presence in the media and that kind of stuff, which is really cool. So yeah, fingers crossed that they can keep doing their thing, and same with all girls, not even in the Australian side but also here in Victoria and then the Stars, and throughout the Big Bash, hopefully encouraging young girls and boys to play cricket.
So when the girls or boys are wanting to be Kim Garth, are they trying to be a bowler or are they trying to be an all-rounder?
A bowler who can somewhat bat, I would say. Yeah, look, when I first came over, I was kind of worked a lot on my batting, which was really cool. And look, I love batting, but particularly over the last year, being in the Australian squad, I probably neglected it a little bit and just focused on my bowling, because yeah, that's obviously the role I'm going to hopefully continue to play for Australia. So look, I like to think of myself as an all-rounder, but yeah, I'm not sure others do.
And do you think you'll go back to Ireland as with all that you've learned, and I guess even not just from your own cricket, but what you've learned of what cricket's like in Australia, to go back as you used the word before, legacy, going back to Ireland and sort of, I don't know, putting into place what you've learnt and to get the next generation coming through, do you think?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Obviously very settled and love my life here in Australia. Yeah, I can't see myself going back to Ireland for the time being. Potentially down the line, I wouldn't rule it out. But as I said, yeah, like I love living in Australia. I love what I do, and even after cricket, I think, yeah, I mean, I love the lifestyle, and I feel I'm quite set up now here, and yeah, as I spoke about before, I have a lot of people around me, which is really cool, looking out for me. So, I mean, I'm not ruling it out, but I think, yeah, if I was to place a bet, I'd say I'd probably be here for another little bit yet.
Well, that's good news. The final question I've got for you, and I ask everyone that's come on the podcast about what Victorian cricket means to them. Now, for most, they've grown up as a Victorian. I was talking before about whether they're trying to be Dean Jones, Brad Hodge, Merv Hughes, whoever. But for you, and now settling yourself into Melbourne, can you put into words what Victorian cricket has meant to you and does continue to mean to you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like now that I've been part of the program for, I think this is coming up to my 5th year, yeah, it's very special. Obviously haven't grown up with it, but I can see how proud all Victorians are and proud of Victorian cricket everyone is, which is really cool to be able to get a sense of that, to come from outside the group and then to spend a bit of time here and get a real sense of, yeah, like I said, how proud everyone is, and yeah, just how passionate Victorians are about their cricket is really cool. So yeah, look, I've got a special place in my heart for Victorian cricket. Obviously, it's kind of like my home away from home now, and yeah, I think it's just really cool. Obviously, been very successful, both men and women in recent times, but also just I guess how things work off field and how everyone looks out for everyone and that kind of thing. I think is actually really cool. Obviously, it's quite prevalent to me and my life and how I've come over here, and yeah, it's obviously. Sorry, not explaining myself very well, but the cricket is massive, but I guess more so as well how, yeah, look, just everyone looks out for each other, and yeah, everyone's got each other's back, and we're a really tight knit group, which is it's really cool.
Well, thank you for spending some time with us and getting to know you a little bit more as a person, not just as a cricketer. It's an incredible story, as I said, for someone that can start their international career at 14 on one side of the world and now still be playing it 13 years later, but still only 27 and playing for Australia is a remarkable story. Thank you for sharing it with us, and more importantly, good luck with the upcoming tour.
Thank you very much.
Kim Garth, our latest guest on the Vic State Cricket Podcast. We'll catch you next time.